So we said linguistics is all about how do you develop syntax, how do you sort of make sense of the form and the sound and then all that kind of things. The earliest approach to this, known to the recorded history, if I may say, is the work done by Panini, a great grammarian of this country, who lived in the 6th century BCE. So what we are talking about is a person who lived 2800 years back. So we will first try to understand what is this whole Panini and what is he done, because that's a good way to get into the Indian contribution into linguistics. So Panini created what is called Aṣṭādhyāyī. Adhyaya means chapter, Ashta means 8. So Aṣṭādhyāyī is a work consisting of 8 chapters. That's why it's called Aṣṭādhyāyī. And Panini himself says, and it is a culmination of a long grammatical tradition. So it is not that Panini, ab initio started creating something. He had thought about it. He sort of brought it to a very logical, structured kind of a things. And what he did was he wrote 3,983 rules, known as sutras, to mostly accommodate the patterns and variations in the Sanskrit language. Please understand, it is not that Panini wrote 3,983 rules and told to the people, please understand the rules and talk accordingly. He did not do it. He did reverse engineer. He found there was a language going on. People have been using different words and forms and so on. He fitted them using 3,983 rules. That's why I use the word mostly accommodate the patterns and variations. He arranged all these 3,983 rules in 8 chapters. Therefore, the name Aṣṭādhyāyī came. And each chapter is further subdivided into 4 quarters. So, 8 into 4 is 32. So, that's how there are 32 sections, so to speak. Basically, Panini's work through this Aṣṭādhyāyī is actually a process of refinement and syntactical structuring. That is why the language is called Sanskritam. Sanskritam means refined. That's the meaning of the word Sanskritam. So the language which is very refined is called Sanskritam, and looks like it is the best available descriptive model of a language. It's a very nice descriptive model of a language. In the 4th century BCE, which means about 250 years later to Panini, Katyayana composed a commentary. It's called Vartika. Vartika means commentary on the Paninian work. That's considered very good because he, fixed a few loose ends, clarified a few things based on what Panini has done, and so he really brought it to a very usable kind of a framework for us by giving additional notes and so on. Another great work on Aṣṭādhyāyī is the Mahabhashya, a commentary on the Aṣṭādhyāyī authored by Patanjali in the 2nd century BC, another 200 years later, one of the very nice commentaries. That's why it's called Bhashya. Bhashya means commentary. Mahabhashya is great commentary. So it is the Katyayana's Vartika and Patanjali's Mahabhashya along with Aṣṭādhyāyī together gives us a very good basis on which one can understand what is the science behind Sanskrit language. Now, there are certain distinguishing aspects about Panini's grammar which we must know. Number 1, the entire vocabulary of the Sanskrit language could be created using the 3,983 rules. Now, when it is not entire, I would say maybe 99.9% because there are maybe a few exceptions. And few exceptions needed special handling, therefore he also sort of did that. The rules are aphorisms, or known as sutras, which are easy to commit to memory, very crisp. Few letters put together, and if you know how to make sense of it, then easily one can process it. So they are all crisp sort of sutras. Familiarity with these rules and how it needs to be applied amounts to gaining an unambiguous mastery of Sanskrit language. So how do I know Sanskrit language? Best way is to understand that there are 3,983 rules and the rules mean this. Once you do it, you are a walking Sanskrit language. You don't need a dictionary, you don't need a thesaurus, nothing is required. That's the power of this language actually. Now, the educational systems in India until the introduction of Macaulayan system of education in the 19th century CE ensured this mastery for the students. But after that, it was a complete discontinuity, so it's all gone. Language processing and word generation are strictly rule-based and derivative in nature. So it is like an equation that you derive. It looks like mathematics. Entire words in Sanskrit language can be derived. So proper application of the rules. So what it means is, if you take the rules and apply the rules as per what is intended, it must result in a valid word, which is a form of a language. So it is so amenable to a computer-driven kind of a methodology. Very rarely we need to make additional assumptions. There is no need to make any additional assumptions. These are very distinguishing aspects of Panini's. And the derivation of words using the rules could be done through using a step-by-step process. That's how it works. And the entire scheme of word generation follows a highly modular approach. You take two basic components, and then if you start combining them, you actually end up forming a word. The first basic component is actually a verbal root or a nominal stem, to which one or more suffixes are added and the rules are invoked, and some processing is done. Finally, it ends with a valid word. This is so unique, so nice algorithmic kind of a thing. So therefore the vocabulary is not fixed. Now we can understand vocabulary cannot be fixed, because as long as the rules are not violated, there ought to be a valid word. So the vocabulary is not fixed or static for the language. The rules can be used for generating new words as long as the rules are not violated. And what we also find in Panini's entire work is he has deployed interesting data structures, computational elements that makes it very unique among the linguistic studies. So these are some of the distinguishing ideas about Panini. You may recall in one of the earlier chapters we talked about Vedanga. One of the Vedanga was Vyakarana. So the Panini's work is actually putting together all those grammatical ideas. So Panini's work is the Vyakarana. We didn't talk in great detail in that chapter. Now in this chapter we are going to look at how this Panini went about doing this, how he processed language. All that we will see in the coming sections.